We can bring her back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Apple Box Chronicles. My name is Peyton Buto.
And I'm Adryon Thomas.
And today on the ABCs, we are taking you from A to Z on a brand new horror film called Bring Her Back. This is a movie that was so good, it brought me back to see it a second time. I said, Adryon, you have to come see this with me. We have to talk about it. And so I forced him to do it, but we're here. We're talking about it. It's really exciting. Let me give you the plot synopsis for this movie. This is straight from Letterboxd. It says, following the death of their father, a brother and sister are introduced to their new sibling by their foster mother, only to learn that she has a terrifying secret. Pretty mysterious plot synopsis. This movie had a great trailer where you were shown a lot of creepy and sensory stuff, and I think that's what these directors really excel at, which we'll get into, but it's an exciting movie to go into blind.
Well, yeah, but if you knew about their first film, Talk to Me, then this is probably very exciting to a lot of people.
Yeah, just by way of existing, for sure.
Yeah, speaking of which, should we give our little thoughts about Talk to Me, since we haven't really put that out before?
Yeah, Talk to Me, I think it's a great film. It came out in 2023 in July. I actually saw it as my birthday movie that year. I try to go to the movies on my birthday every year. And it was really good. Did not disappoint. I love that it's got this subtext about the youth and substance abuse kind of combined with the supernatural. I think these guys are really good at combining the supernatural into these really human stories that, you know, it doesn't overload you with a bunch of exposition, but it still has some really interesting lore to it. Really great ending. I remember being really struck by that movie's ending all the times that I've seen it. And I liked how gnarly and kind of gross it is, and it's that's something that these directors I think excel at as well. What did you think of Talk to Me?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good directorial debut for these guys, since they were known for being YouTubers before, and really solid start to a career. The gore, great. All the practical effects and crazy stuff going on in that movie is super cool. The way this movie handles its horror, or at least the premise of what the horror is about, is really, really interesting. And I did love the ending as well. I thought that was such a great way to end the movie. Something about it though, I felt like it was missing some. I don't know what it was. I can't really articulate what I felt, but I felt like it was missing something. But I feel like Bring Her Back kind of gives me that something. I don't know. There's something about Bring Her Back that I like way more about than Talk to Me, but that's a good thing. I feel like directors' first films shouldn't be their best films, so they're only getting better. I haven't seen their YouTube stuff before, but you've seen maybe a little bit of it?
Just a little bit. I mean, I kind of gave it a look when Talk to Me came out, and they actually had a video showing how they made Talk to Me and the process of trying to land distribution for that film that I thought was really interesting, and I recommend everybody check that out if you haven't seen it. But yeah, I haven't really seen a lot of their stuff. I did see that they were on like a Mr. Beast video at one point, and I can't remember if that was before or after Talk to Me came out, but it was around that time. But yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with these guys as much as YouTubers as I am filmmakers, but they seem like really cool and passionate people making horror movies that they want to make. So
yeah, when I first heard about them, I didn't know anything about them, so I kind of just looked up. I think it was like a compilation video of some of their like cool stuff that they've done, and I saw some of what they did on YouTube, and I was like, holy crap, that's really cool. They really want to make movies. Like they're really into it, and I think they're on a good path to what they want to do. So it's really exciting to see like these really passionate YouTubers become filmmakers.
And it's really cool, especially that this has been the path for them, and that they've actually made it to two films that are, I think, generally pretty well received. I mean, this movie's not out yet at the time of us recording this, but we have seen some reactions from people. It was just the Monday Mystery movie at AMC and Regal, like, just this week. So a lot of people have been saying good things about it. So good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good movie.
So, yeah.
So I
think
think people,
really good movie.
I think people really like it. I think it will disturb a lot of people too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really fun.
But I do want to mention before we get into the nitty gritty of this film. First of all, we are gonna have a spoiler-free zone. You're in spoiler-free zone right now. Later, we'll get into spoilers and we'll let you know so that you can stop listening if you haven't seen it and come back.
Yeah,
hopefully, we can bring you back for that.
Because I know a lot of our viewers, like my mom and dad, probably haven't seen this movie, and they want to watch it. They can watch it and come back, or if you just want to be spoiled.
You don't want this movie spoiled, Mr. and Mrs. Thomas. You don't want it spoiled. I promise. But I don't. I mean, do your parents like horror movies? I don't know.
I'm sure they'll like it. It's fun.
This isn't a movie I would show my mom. In fact, it actually might be, because then I would be like, see. Anyway, we'll get into it. So, speaking of personal connections to this film, I was lucky enough to go to my first screening of this movie. Had a Q&A with the directors, and they talked about how this film is more personal for them than Talk to Me, because they have a cousin that lost their 2-year-old. And there was this moment where, they had to kind of let go of their child, and it didn't really look like that person was ever going to be okay again. And so that was kind of the catalyst, I think, for creating this movie, according to them. And it's kind of... So it's a horror movie that kind of is about grief and trauma, which is something that's like very oversaturated in a lot of people's minds in the horror genre right now. But it's also hard to hate on a movie that clearly was a healing endeavor for artists. And also, there's other personal connections too. Like I believe they have a friend who's visually impaired, and that inspired one of the characters in the film who's visually impaired as well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going into this movie, a lot of personal things that they're drawing from. So it's kind of hard to really be too hard on it when it seems like such a sincere and passionate work.
Well, I feel like that's the best way to go about making a movie, is bringing it out from things that you know about and care about. Because if you don't, you're just making a movie to make a movie, and it's probably not as emotionally investing or anything like that.
I absolutely agree. And I think that's why I'm such an easy mark for this film. I have such a soft spot for movies about flawed parental figures, especially movies about families that don't trust each other and that have to work through that. And that kind of thing, and I mean, it goes even more specific once we get into like the nitty-gritty of the movie, but that kind of thing, it's like my jam. Like if I see that in a movie, it's kind of hard for me to not give it a little bit of bonus points in my mind.
Yeah, I remember when you first saw it, you're like, oh yeah, this is for me. This was like they were doing interviews, and you're like, I knocked it out of the... I knew exactly what I wanted to say, because this is my jam. This is what I'm really into, and it does seem like a movie that you'd be really into.
Yeah. When I saw this movie the first time, they had an interview thing with some A24 people at the screening where you got to give like your thoughts on the film, and they would ask you a few questions, and like I kind of knew exactly what to say. I also was wearing an A24 shirt that day, which was really lucky, but I knew exactly what to say. And they even asked me like, what's the craziest thing your mom's ever done for you? And I was like, how much time do you have? Like, what can I actually... I couldn't actually think of one specific thing. I had to keep it really vague because I would have been there telling them stories forever.
Yeah.
Which is not what I'm trying to do on this episode. But that's my real thoughts on the movie, is that I think it carries over a lot of the strong points of Talk to Me in terms of style, in terms of like the way that it plays with your senses, the sound design, and all the grossness and kind of brutality of that film is carried over and in some ways improved upon in this movie. And then at the same time, this is just a story that's more personal for the filmmakers and happens to be on a more personally connected to what I want to see in a movie like this. So yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. I liked it more than Talk to Me, and I think that's saying a lot because so many people love Talk to Me. I feel like a good amount of people will like this more than Talk to Me as well. It's like, to me, it was better on, a thematic level and pacing. I just felt like the movie just like went by really, really well. There was never any parts where I was like, come on, let's get it rolling. Come on, let's go. No, it was on top of its stuff, and I loved the two sibling characters. They were really, really sweet, and I love that relationship and their backstory. And I think really the only thing for me was the ending, which is a completely opposite way of how I felt about the Talk to Me ending. I loved the ending to Talk to Me, but this one just kind of made me feel a bit kind of cold, a little underwhelmed. And that's not exactly, I feel like the filmmakers were trying to do something that, they wanted to say and do. But I felt like they could have gone into a different direction, and that would have maybe satisfied me more, but obviously that's not what they were trying to do. We'll go into that kind of stuff later in the spoiler part of this segment, but for now, really loved the movie. Liked it a lot. I thought all the gore was great. There was some really great moments where the audience was just like going crazy at the cringe of watching what's happening on the screen, because there's some crazy stuff that happens in this movie. And yeah, it was really good. It was just really the ending that I was kind of a little underwhelmed by.
It is not for the faint of heart, for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it, I guess. Just the whole spoiler zone. We're kind of going to break down the plot here. So if you don't want to know what this movie is really about, you don't want to know what happens in it, stop listening. Come back when you've seen it. Please come back when you've seen it.
Yeah.
We're going to have a fun discussion. But yeah, that's our little review of the movie for now.
And it's also good to just go in blind. Like,
yeah.
It's a good movie to go in just not knowing anything about
Absolutely. Okay. So spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So this movie's kind of like Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
In a way. So basically, what the movie's really about in a broad sense is, yes, they go to this foster mother's house, and she's acting a bit strange. She has a daughter who is also visually impaired, who passed away, that she's grieving, and she has this other kid named Oliver who's like silent. He's completely mute, and he keeps trying to like strangle the cat, and like he's really, really strange. And you come to find out that the Sally Hawkins character, the foster mother, is doing some kind of evil ritual with a demon that is inside of this younger kid that she has at her house, and she's trying to use him to bring her daughter back, to reawaken her daughter's soul in her daughter's body, which she has kept in a freezer in her shed. So it's some pretty gnarly stuff as a result of that. But let's go all the way back.
Yeah.
This movie opens with a pretty creepy, like cultish, ritualistic video.
Like shot on video.
Yeah, shot on video. Well, some of it's actually shot like, digitally, like you're seeing it all happen in real time. You're seeing the people like record it.
Yeah.
What's we come to really realize about this film is that the more me and Adryon talk about it, the more we're realizing that a lot of things are left up to like potential interpretation and like theorizing about the Sally Hawkins character specifically and what's going on exactly. There's some questions left unanswered, and that may or may not frustrate some people. But yeah, it's basically like a YouTube tutorial, but how to like resurrect someone. I think these directors do a lot with like modern technology. This is not modern technology, but like in Talk to Me especially, there was a huge emphasis on social media and phones, and like I think their whole thing with Talk to Me is like you're reaching out for connection as a young person in the modern world, and you're like saying, I let you in, I'm going to let you into my life. And so there's something interesting here about this. So it opens with that, and then we're introduced to the two sibling characters named Andy and Piper. And we learn about Piper's visual impairment, who, she can only see in like bright lights and colors. She can't really see things clearly. She's a very innocent character. Andy's a little more on edge about things. And then their father dies in the shower. And we kind of had like a moment where we were unclear about how
he died.
How he died at all.
Like, did he fall and hit his head? Did he have a stroke or something? The thing is, also for me, I've only seen this movie once, so there's possibly like information that's in the movie that we just kind of went over our heads, or I didn't really notice. But I don't think we ever get an explanation as to how the father died.
I've seen
which
the movie twice, so I actually have no excuse. I might just be stupid.
But my theory was that the Sally Hawkins character maybe killed him because she works at that center which we don't even find out about until later in the movie, and she probably knew about that father and the blind daughter that he had, and since she wants to swap out the bodies from her dead blind daughter to this new one, she probably needed a way to get to her, and so by doing that she had to make her an orphan.
It's quite an interesting theory, especially when you consider that when they go to the foster center, they are about to be separated, but Andy really fights to not be separated and to go to the foster home with her. And when they get to Sally Hawkins' house, there's this little thing that I want to mention, because you and I kind of were talking about this, and you were like, I don't even know what the point of that is, but I feel like I kind of understand what the point of it is, but I might just be reaching. When they get to the house, the car, I think Andy is distracted, and the car rolls up onto a curb or a wall of some kind, and then the rear view window on the driver's side, which had been broken before they find their father dead in the shower, he's trying to fix it. And then as soon as they get to Sally Hawkins' house, it breaks completely. And to me, that was such an interesting detail, because it's something that you use to look behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like at a certain point, I mean, when you learn about Andy's relationship with his father, it's not good. And it used to maybe be better. And I think in a way that's symbolic of him trying to kind of repair something to be able to kind of get back to how their relationship was before. So repairing a rear view window, it's like you're trying to repair something that allows you to see that past version of yourself or of your relationship that you missed so much. And when they get to Sally Hawkins' house, obviously there's a finality to that. His father is dead now, so there's no repairing that anymore. It's gone. I might sound completely stupid. Maybe the directors will listen to this and they'll just be like, "This guy, that was just for fun. What are you talking about?"
So the thing is, they put a lot of emphasis on this mirror thing, so it has to mean something.
Did I say rear view window? I meant mirror.
But I think you said mirror. I don't know, but
I wrote in the notes rear view window. What's wrong with me? I think I was thinking of the Hitchcock film Rear Window.
Yeah, but I mean, it has to mean something, and I think you are on a good track of what it might mean, which is he keeps looking back on his past when he should be looking more to his future, and it juxtaposes the reality of the Sally Hawkins character and how she's looking back. She wants to bring her back, but you can't do that. The mirror is broken. You got to go forward.
Right. No, that actually makes a lot of sense. It's almost just like something that represents the whole message of the movie, and not just one character.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting detail to definitely mention. Maybe there's an extra scene where that goes even further that they just cut out, and so now the way it is, it's just a little random. But we are introduced to Sally Hawkins' character named Laura. Very odd behavior on her part, and this is where we learn about her dead daughter, who was also blind. She drowned, but immediately when we get to this house, she's playing super loud music. She's kind of like a partier, like a hippie in a way, and she's really excited.
Super eccentric.
Yeah, she's super eccentric and excited to talk to them. It really weaponizes Sally Hawkins' warmness into something that's deceptive.
Yeah.
And that feels very put on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, she has a dog, but the dog is stuffed. I think that's another cool detail, because it's this thing where she can't let go of the things she loses. Mm-hmm. She's almost like a hoarder in a way, in terms of the grief that she experiences. And then immediately she takes a selfie with Piper and Andy and blocks Andy on some Mike Wazowski stuff from Monsters, Inc., blocking him with her head, and just immediately alienates him, tries everything she can to throughout the film make him humiliated, make him feel like he can't be a proper guardian to Piper because he's about to turn 18. He wants to apply for guardianship, but obviously she wants Piper to herself.
Yeah, and as messed up as it is, it's also kind of funny, how she goes about it.
It is really, there is some twisted, funny stuff in this movie. We're also introduced to Oliver, the younger kid that she has at her house, who is just completely mute, and he's introduced by trying to squeeze the cat like in the pool, and the pool is empty. He's just standing in there. It's a very unsettling image, and he's getting scratched up, and it doesn't look like he cares at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, this kid is just completely out of it.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on with him? And Andy is very alarmed by it. Of course, Piper can't understand the same way because she can't see
it.
Yeah, she can't see him. So this is, I think, the biggest thing in the movie is that people say that movies are about, grief too much. Horror films are about grief too much. This is a movie, I think, chiefly about innocence. It's not really about, like, grief is not the word I think of first. It's really, I think, about how we try to preserve the innocence in our lives, whether it be our own, whether it be, your child's innocence, whether it be trying to preserve the innocence that you've lost. When, she's lost a child, so she's lost this innocent entity in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really what makes this movie stand out, is its themes about innocence, which we'll get more into as we go along. The cat is also named Junkman.
Yeah, you said that. I didn't remember that in the movie, but that's just kind of funny.
There's some Australian names in this.
There's some
I'm not saying Junkman's an Australian name,
No.
but for a cat, it kind of sounds like it could be.
Well, we'll get to that later. But
We'll get to it. So, she's immediately alienating Andy. She gives him the worst room in the house. She's drugging him to fall asleep. I think she's like switching out his like either electrolyte powder or protein powder that he uses because he works out a lot.
Yeah.
That's another character trait that I really like because, we come to find out he was abused by his father.
Yeah.
And so he probably felt he needed to be stronger to defend himself. And it's something that is weaponized against him by Laura because she's like, well, no, you're an abuser just like your dad. You're lifting weights when you're angry. You're full of testosterone. You're like, this big, strong man, and you're trying to use that against people.
I think that's also kind of funny because she's just saying that to like get to him. The thing is, he's really not. Like if you look at the the weights he's doing, it's not a lot of weights.
But I think that's
it's
because
it's psychological. He's trying to get better and bigger because he doesn't want to be picked on anymore like he was with his father around.
Right, and she's using that to make him feel even more weak and powerless.
And we kind of figure out that she was drugging him because every time he falls asleep, it's like he's knocked out. He's drooling and everything. It's
right.
Like that's
and there's also something later in the film that would make sense if she was drugging him.
Yeah.
But yeah, she also, when he's asleep, we come to find out she's pissing into a measuring cup and then pouring it on him to make it look like he's urinating himself every night, which is so twisted and kind of funny.
I think that's one of the best parts of her doing like her psychological torment on him because it shows that he has no control over his own body. He's not old enough to be a parental figure to his sister. It's just a humiliating thing to happen to you, and she like calls him out on it.
She's like, "Oh, is this piss?" Like when he gives her the sheets to wash. And she kind of laughs at him. Yeah, it's bad. And also when there's a funeral sequence for their father where she comes with them. She's not dressed for a funeral. She's like in purple.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in suits. It's kind of unsettling. And then she steals, while she's there and nobody's watching the body, she steals a little bit of hair off their dad's head, which is like super weird.
Yeah, he cuts some hair off,
puts it in a little baggie, and then Andy doesn't really want to look at his dad's corpse. He doesn't really want to say goodbye because he doesn't really like him.
Yeah.
And Piper is like, how does he look? Does he look good? And he's like, kind of lies to her. He's like, yeah, he looks good. And they have this little language that they use for each other where they say grapefruit, which I think means like, tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Be honest with me. Are you joking?
Mm-hmm.
And he says grapefruit, and that kind of makes her not trust him because then Laura, lets it spill that he didn't even look at the body.
She's tearing them apart.
Yeah,
like,
you
slowly.
said grapefruit. I can't believe you would do that.
Yeah.
That's our thing. You can't lie about that. And Laura makes Andy go back in, and like, she's like, what
like
is she
tradition?
She says it's tradition or it's custom. She says it's custom. You have to kiss your dad goodbye, and he like really doesn't want to, but he kisses his forehead, and then she's like, no, on the lips. On the lips, you have to kiss. And he's like, I'm not gonna do that, and he doesn't. She kind of like holds him back. She's like, it's okay, I got you. I got you. And then she kisses the dad's lips, which is crazy. It's almost like this little thank you
Yeah.
because I'm taking your daughter. Thank you
Yeah.
for dying, I guess. So it's really fucked up. And she also mentions during this part that she's like, some people believe the soul stays inside the body for
Mhm.
months. So if that's true, he's still in there. And clearly, this is a belief that she has
Yeah.
because she's trying to get her daughter back. And then they start partying. She's
Yeah.
like, "What do you guys want to do? You guys want to get hammered? Okay." Like Andy's like, "Yeah, that's what I do for fun. I get hammered." And so then they all are getting hammered because in Australia you can drink at 18.
Mhm.
Even though
But
Andy's not quite 18, he's almost there.
yeah.
And she lets Piper drink.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's like, oh man, that's right. Well, when it comes to like adults allowing like younger kids to drink, it's just kind of makes me unsettled. It's like that's not right. You shouldn't be doing that.
And
And
Piper in the movie is 12.
yeah, she's
And
really
in
young.
real life, filming this movie, she was 12.
Yeah.
And that's something I just want to briefly mention. All these actors, all three of them are great.
Yeah, the Piper, she hasn't been in anything before, and she's
Yeah,
great in it.
Sora
Yeah.
Wong is her name.
Yeah, she's adorable, and she's she's great as the little kid. And the guy Andy, he's also really good. I hadn't seen him in anything before.
Even the young boy who plays Oliver is
Yeah,
really
a lot of
good.
physical acting.
Yeah, and
for
that
a child.
like if I was looking in the mirror with that makeup on, that shit would scare me as a kid. I'd be like, "Oh, why do I look like that?"
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously Sally Hawkins, incredible. Like she carries the movie.
And she's like the perfect actress to play in this role because we're so used to Sally Hawkins being like such a lovely, like sweet person. Like she's always playing like a character in which you want to like and support and root for. But in this movie, she puts that on as like almost like armor for her because we know that she's not actually a nice little sweet little lady. She's awful.
Yeah. Well, you can also tell that there maybe was a nicer, sweeter version of her that is now like that pretense is fading and that is now gone because of what happened with her daughter that she couldn't handle. Also, like after this is actually we do get like this tender moment between Laura and Andy where they're talking about, he's talking about how when his father married Piper's mother because they're step siblings,
Yeah.
that Piper became his favorite, and then he was abusing Andy, but he never let Piper see it. And that's another thing about like innocence. It's like, oh, Piper's so innocent, I can't let her see this, but you're just creating a basically allowing yourself to create a fake version of yourself for this girl who can't actually see you.
Yeah.
I think it's just thematically it works so well to have a kid that's visually impaired in the movie because she literally is blind to the ugliness of the world and she has to learn how the world looks through other people describing it to her, and so it's so easy for people to deceive her. And then similarly in real life, even a kid that's not visually impaired, you would probably be able to deceive them as well, maybe not to the same ease, but still it's something that I think the movie talks about a lot, which is we can do that lovingly. We can try to protect children's views of the world and make everything seem good. There's of course a natural point where someone's innocence has to be kind of lowered and they have to see things for how they really are. But the more you try to fight that, it's like how long until that loving intention steps into something very unnatural and not good, and then it becomes like an abusive thing.
Well, I think the movie's also about belief and truth as well. There's a lot of lying that kind of undercuts the movie. Like that's why they bring up the whole grapefruit thing is like tell me the truth. And him denying her that truth is kind of what separates them in the end, and he has to at a certain point he has to confess everything in a little voicemail about what he lied about and what he didn't. And belief as well, it's like if Sally Hawkins truly believes that she could bring her daughter back, she'll do anything to do that. And Andy truly believes that Sally Hawkins is crazy. And
he's right about that, though.
yeah, it's this kind of thing between truth and belief. It's sometimes it meshes, and so that's why Andy lies to Piper sometimes because he believes that she shouldn't know the truth. And I think he comes to realize that, you know, being upfront about like everything is much more indicative of his love for her than not.
Yeah, definitely. Well said. Obviously, this moment between Andy and Laura is kind of essentially giving her ammunition against him, but she does kind of open up to him and mention that she would give anything to hear her daughter say, call her mom one last time, and like opens up to him about what she's struggling with in that regard. And then Oliver during this part is just fucking outside, like while they're
Yeah.
partying and everything, like he's just standing out there. And this is indicative of something that you kind of brought up about that character.
So yeah, that was another thing that I wasn't that I didn't love about the movie was how Oliver was just kind of there. Like he's a kid who lives with the Sally Hawkins character, and she just doesn't really mention him a lot, or at least to the other two kids, and he's just kind of there. He's like locked up in the room, and they never really question it. And he breaks out, and he's like kind of wandering around, and we kind of get his perspective of like walking around outside. But the thing is, it seems like nobody really cares about this kid who's obviously having some kind of problems from their point of view. He's not well. We know that he's a demon, but by the end of it, but I just felt like they should have spent more time like really confronting the fact that there's just this random mute kid in the house that doesn't do anything, and I feel like they should be more worried about that, but they really aren't until a little later.
I feel like Andy's always worried about it, but because he's so alone in the situation, he can't really do anything about it until, of course, later, like you said. But yeah, that is something I have a problem with in this film, too, that's similar, is just kind of the way it slingshots characters around in that way, and like it kind of just moves, you know, especially Andy, it kind of moves them in and out of the narrative to where they need to go, and it sometimes isn't always done with a lot of grace, but it's necessary. It's just not. I feel like it could have been a little more smooth.
Yeah.
You know.
I think there is maybe an excuse for that because the kid is so weird that Andy doesn't want to freak out Piper by telling him, "Oh, he's bald and he's all scratched up and weird looking." So
Yeah.
they kind of make an excuse and say like, "Oh, he's a cute little kid. He's got orange curly hair."
Well, yeah, she's using the image of the actual Oliver,
Yeah.
who is her nephew,
Yeah.
who she named this kid after, which this is not that kid.
Yeah, so in the movie, apparently she just kind of steals this kid and gives him the name of another kid, and since he's mute, he can't really say anything. And she
Well, he's mute because of the demon.
Yeah, she turns him into a demon. She like puts the demon's soul into his body.
Yeah, she performs a ritual on this kid that she kidnapped, and then she needs another blind girl for the demon to put the soul of her daughter into.
Yeah.
So that she can bring her daughter back. It's crazy.
It's a really wild sort of ritual that I've never really seen or heard about before.
The kid's name is Connor Bird.
And when that came up, we were like, that's the most Australian name. And if you look at the picture of the kid before he shaves his head off, it's the most Australian looking and sounding kid I've ever seen.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, and there's this scene where Laura's talking to him in the bathroom, and she's like, how am I supposed to believe that you're in there if you don't say anything or something like that? And when I first saw this scene, I thought, oh, that's actually... Because the kid who plays Oliver is very... looks a bit nondescript in terms of whether they're a boy or a girl. So I thought during that scene that it meant that was her daughter's body, and that was her daughter, and that she did the ritual, and it's like she thinks that that's her daughter, but instead it didn't work, and then like her daughter's acting weird and mute, and so she's like, how am I supposed to believe you're my daughter if you can't say anything? And it also was like, because she said, I would give anything to hear her call me mom one last time. So I thought maybe she tried it and it didn't work, and the kid's mute and she can't tell if it's actually her daughter or if it's just this weird like demon that she summoned. And I thought that was where the movie was going, but it's not exactly like that.
Actually, thinking about this now, this just kind of occurred to me, is that she wants to put her daughter's, soul into another kid's body, but her daughter was blind. Why would you get another blind kid? Like, if you could get to like kind of redo that whole situation, why would you just put her into a kid who could actually see? I feel like that would be like the miracle of the whole thing.
Right. I get what you're saying, but I think it actually has to be the same. Like that trait has to carry over because it says recreate the death, right?
Yeah.
So I think the whole idea is that she has to kind of get someone with similar traits to her daughter, maybe. I don't know if there's like a rule to that or whatever.
But I mean, recreating the death, sure. I mean, they could die the same way, but come on, let your dead daughter be able to see when she's resurrected. That would be
Right.
kind of great.
Right.
But no, you're gonna put her back into another body, and she's blind, so it's gonna freak her out even more because she's gonna get resurrected into another body. She doesn't know anything. She can't see anything. She's just gonna have to. I just think about all the after effects of this situation. If it were to work out, would be really, really funny.
Yeah, there would be
and
some
weird.
rehabilitation perhaps
Yeah,
that would
like,
have to happen.
You messed this up. You could have just put her in a body where someone can see.
Maybe. Here's my contest to that, right? She probably loved caring for her daughter because she was blind. She loved the fact that she could protect her daughter from seeing ugliness in herself as well as the rest of the world in the similar way, and I think she didn't want to give that up.
I was thinking of that too, and I was like, no, she probably did do this on purpose because she is a selfish person.
She is, and
she's a very selfish person.
That is what kind of is revealed more and more throughout the movie, is that she is a selfish person. The way that she's going about this is not really as much about her daughter as it seems to be about herself.
Yeah.
And the titular bring her back, I believe, has more to do with
the mom.
Sally Hawkins trying to bring back herself, bring back the person that she was before, become a mother again, and bringing back her daughter is just her means to that end. I know that is it's kind of fucked up, but that's what I get from the movie, because I think that she has to learn to give up the version of herself that she once was and the innocence that she felt she once had before she suffered this great loss and changed as a person, and her self-hatred bubbled more to the surface than what it was before. Sorry, did you have something?
No, I was going to say, it's very layered in terms of the Sally Hawkins character, because they leave it so ambiguous as to like what her life was before. Like, they give a little hints and here and there that you get to see a few like videos of her of her young daughter, but you never really get to see who she was before that happened. And in my eyes, she could have been a better she could have been like totally normal, cool person who just went through a very traumatic experience, or she was just always awful. She was always bad. She was always very selfish, but she kind of hid that away because her daughter was blind, and she was working a good job where she was taking care of like foster children. But to me personally, I think it's more interesting that she was always just an awful kind of selfish individual, and this just kind of boosted that need for her to need someone to latch onto.
And this is something that I heavily connect to in the film, is what you're talking about, because it's like I've definitely know people in my life that are parents, and that is kind of the idea, is like being a parent makes you feel better about yourself. It's like something that gives you purpose, that makes you feel, because a lot of selfishness comes from self-hatred as well. And I think that there is a reason for why she feels the need to have this in her life, to feel better about herself and to be that person again. Like, there's a distinction in the film between putting yourself in front of your child and trying to protect them from the ugliness of the world and keep them innocent and hold on to that innocence. And I think for a decent while that can be a somewhat decent way to parent, because you're trying to let them be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But then at what point does that become an unnatural thing where you're actually just holding them back from growing up? And when does it become self-serving for you because you like the person that you are in their eyes, right? And it's this distinction between preserving innocence with a loving intention and then trying to store it forever in a freezer in your shed, and it's like that's unnatural. That's like not how it works. And I think the whole like ritual thing is like meant to kind of manifest that unnatural aspect of it, like some going against the natural development of a kid.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the film's standout scenes.
This is when it gets going.
Yeah.
This is when it gets going.
Yeah, so Laura and Piper, they go out on like a girls' outing. They leave Andy and Oliver at home. She says, don't let Oliver out of his room. Of course, Andy doesn't really listen because he kind of, now that Piper's not around, he kind of takes an opportunity to learn more about this kid and what's going on with him. He's like, why have we been ignoring him this whole movie? What the fuck?
Yeah, he's like locked up in a room. It's like,
yeah.
It's like a prisoner in that house.
Yeah, so then he tries to feed him some cantaloupe, I believe.
Yeah.
And he is cutting it up, and it's like on the knife, and he's like, here, take the fruit. He holds out the knife to him with the fruit on the end of it, and instead of taking the fruit, Oliver takes the whole knife in his hand, and he's like, okay, well, let me get you a plate.
Yeah.
He turns around and goes to the cabinet, and then you just start hearing this crunching metallic sound, which I believe, as is according to the Q&A, was made by the director just chewing on like a butter knife, like in the sound room or whatever, and that's how they did it. But yeah, there's this crunching, chewing sound. You turn around, and this kid has the knife like fully in his mouth, chewing, like just gums bleeding, just chewing on this giant kitchen knife.
It's like just breaking up his like.
It's kind of awesome.
It's great. Like the reactions of people watching that was amazing because it's so like you look at it and you're like, oh my god, that's awful. But it's also like kind of cool to watch. You're like, oh, that they really went with it.
It's fucking gnarly. It reminds me a little bit of that scene in Talk to Me where the guy's like making out with the dog. Like it's just so gross and so visceral. And then he tries to take him outside to take him to the hospital.
Yeah, obviously he's freaked out.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing, dude?
And then there's a line around the house. There's like a line drawn made with like sand or salt or something.
Yeah, so something that is a reoccurring image is circles in this movie. There's a lot of circles.
And it almost looks like the circles, it controls the demon in a way. Like you contain it in a circle. When they arrive to Sally Hawkins' house, there's a shot of them through like a circular little statue or something that's there. Yeah. There is a moment where we'll get to it in a second. When he drags Oliver out to try and get him to the hospital, Oliver does not want to leave the circle.
Yeah.
And then when he leaves the circle, he just starts spazzing out. Like he's laying on the ground and he's just like freaking out, screaming in agony. It's the first time we actually hear him use his voice at all. And then right then, of course, Laura shows back up and is like, and I can't tell if this is actually what happens or if I'm just hearing things, but I think the first time she says it, she said, what is she doing outside? And then she corrects herself and says, what is he doing outside? And I thought when I was watching it, of course, I thought that was the daughter at this time in the film. So I thought she made a mistake and that was like a nugget in the performance where she's so stressed out that she forgets to lie. But it actually might just be like me hearing things because it sounds kind of similar with the S and the he sound. But it would make sense because she kind of sees... She doesn't really see that as her daughter though, because that's like what no, it's I think I'm tripping, but but that was something that me and my other friend Austin, who I saw this with, actually like Austin brought it up to me before I even said anything. So I'm not crazy.
But yeah, that whole thing happens and she's freaking out because he's not supposed to be outside of the circle, because apparently when you take a demon outside of a circle, it just dissipates from the body, and
the demon just starts dying.
Yeah, in an agonizing way.
It's like when, and this is something that's shown at the beginning of the movie too. There's those same circles in like this warehouse where they're doing the ritual or whatever.
Yeah. And
so they're, I think you summon the demon in a certain area and they can't leave that area. It's also a good thematic image too, is like, trying to contain your child in this one area. Don't leave the safe zone sort of thing, which plays into the whole innocence thing as well.
But she has to basically do another ritual to get the demon back into Connor Bird's body. I love his name, Connor Bird.
So I don't. Yeah, she. I don't know if she's doing like another ritual. She's like doing a step that it's
Yeah.
like in case this happens, do this. And so she goes upstairs and she's freaking out and she plays music really loud so they can't hear it. But she's watching this, like rewinding this tape like frantically of like this cult doing the ritual, and she's watching what you do in this situation. And Connor Bird on the fucking bed, just freaking out, screaming.
Doesn't he start talking?
Yeah,
too?
he's like, "What?" He's like, "Where am I? Like,
Yeah.
who are you?" Sort of thing. It's like, yeah, the demon just comes completely out of him, and he starts to freak out. And in order to calm him back down and get him back into his natural state, well, not natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She has to like rub his forehead in circles.
Yeah, there's a lot of circles.
Yeah, so there's something about it. And then there's like also a later moment where she draws a circle in blood on the window while it's raining. But yeah, then right after this, obviously she's pissed off at Andy. She isolates him. She's like, "Don't come in my room. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And she brings Piper into the room with Oliver, who's now back to his good demon self. And she's kind of like, "Oh yeah, he's doing fine." Like she obviously can't see him and how fucked up his face is.
Yeah.
But then she feeds him the hair of their dead father.
Yeah.
And I guess that helps sedate him as well or something. Maybe it is because...
Well, maybe he needs like a dead person.
Because I was going to think, oh, well, maybe he needs some of Piper's DNA to put the body into her, but that wouldn't make sense because that's not actually Piper's biological father.
Yeah.
Right after this, Andy is taking a shower, which he's afraid to do, but he has a lot of blood on him, so he
he's
must
freaking
do
out.
it.
He's kind of having a little bit of a panic attack in a way.
And a little thing we missed is when he goes back into the house, he tried to get Oliver to write something, and Oliver wrote "bird" on a piece of paper.
That's true. Yeah,
that's another thing.
It's like the little kids trying to reach out from the demon.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's Australian, so it just looks like he's talking about birds.
And the whole thing about Andy and the shower thing is like he's so traumatized from seeing his father taking a shower that he literally like would rather get a hose outside and like shower outside before taking a shower inside. But when he finally does try to take a shower inside, he sees his father's ghost.
And this is something that like we have debated about whether he's drugged in this moment and that's why he's hallucinating, or if he's actually just hallucinating purely based on trauma and stress.
Yeah.
This is a world where the supernatural exists. Maybe his father is actually a ghost coming to him, trying to give him a warning, and he says, "She dies in the rain."
Yeah.
That's all he says. And then Andy slips, hits his head, and knocks out, and he wakes up in a hospital.
Yeah.
So this is a thing where it's like they just kind of remove Andy from the home to make the movie go on faster, which I appreciate in terms of pacing. It's kind of a little silly.
Yeah.
But Laura visits him in the shower and gives him his body spray. She's like, "Here's your body spray. Piper wanted me to give this to you." And then she tells him, "Oh, Oliver's fine. He's at home." And I was like, how is that even believable? I saw that man chew on a knife like it was Colgate.
If I were Andy, I would be like, what is happening? Like, what is wrong with that kid? What is going on? Like, I would be way more freaked out than... Obviously, he is freaked out in the movie, but he doesn't really ask a lot of questions until, like, way later. I just feel like if it were me, I'd be asking a lot of questions really early.
Yeah, he can't really ask them around Piper, but there is that moment after they're partying where Piper's asleep, and he probably should have just been like, "Hey, so what the fuck, right? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah.
But he goes back home. He's released from the hospital, and then Laura goes into Piper's room, sprays herself with Andy's body spray to smell like him, and literally, it's so blunt that it's funny. And I actually think I got some nasty looks for laughing at this in the theater because it was actually so awkward.
It's actually kind of a brutal scene.
It's
a messed up scene.
It is, but it was in like an uncomfortable way. I kind of chuckled at it, and people were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" But
I mean, I did kind of too when I saw it.
Yeah, but so Laura just smacks Piper in the fucking eye. Like,
she doesn't
punches her.
She
hard as
punches
shit.
her in the face as Piper is sleeping. Piper is blind, so she doesn't see anything. She just wakes up and like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that is awful.
And then she takes her and goes and confronts Andy and goes, "So what? You went into Piper's room and you hit her, right? You hit her, and then we come to find out that Andy has hit Piper before once, and he really regrets it, and it was because he was jealous of her.
Yeah, as when they were both much younger.
Right. And she never knew about that, and
Yeah.
so I think there was he has like a history of some kind of uncooperative tendencies, and that's something I think that's mentioned in the foster home, and I think because Laura worked there, she probably knew that as well, and
Yeah.
obviously because she was adopting him too. She kind of uses that against him. She's like, "Oh, okay, so your dad hit you, so you hit her,
Yeah.
and you're an abuser, and you're full of testosterone, you're crazy." He can't convince Piper that she's lying because she smelled like him in the room,
Yeah.
and Piper kind of doesn't have a reason to not trust Laura at this point. And so Andy freaks out, and he pins her against the wall, and he punches a hole in the wall, and he almost hits her, and he throws her on the ground.
Yeah.
He gets really mad. Piper doesn't know what to do. She's like, you're abusive. Like, wow.
And Sally Hawkins is really playing it up. She's like fake crying and like, oh my god.
You can see it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see her kind of like crying, but like visually she's not as upset as she sounds.
Yeah.
It's a really good performance. But then he goes back to the foster home after this. He runs off, and he talks to Wendy, the foster worker who helped set them up with Laura. And this is where he sees a flyer on the wall for Connor Bird, the missing child. And he puts the pieces together, and it's literally Oliver.
Yeah.
And so he confronts her. He's like, Laura kidnapped a fucking child. She's crazy. She's insane.
Piper's in danger.
Piper's in danger, yeah. While this is happening, Laura drops Piper off at some park where she's playing some kind of sport with other blind kids.
Yeah, they have like some sort of like blind sport or like ball sport.
Yeah, it's like blind.
It's really
dodgeball or
interesting. I've never
something.
seen that.
It was actually a very cool scene to see that be played. It was like, oh, this is interesting. And while they're driving back to the house to confront Laura, Laura is in the trenches because fucking Oliver is getting hungry and impatient, and he's eating everything, and he's making a mess. He's fucking biting tables.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, like his teeth are never gonna be the same.
Yeah. He's eating all this stuff. She has Piper's phone, I think, and Andy calls her, and he leaves this very emotional voicemail where he confesses to everything, and he says, Dad's not a good person. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you sooner, but he's not a good person. He didn't let you see it. Laura's the same way. She's not a good person. She's not letting you see it. I've done bad things, but I really care about you, Grapefruit. It's a really emotional moment. Laura is hearing all this, and then she hears briefly the voice of Wendy, who is with him, and she knows that they're coming to confront her. Yeah. And so she freaks out. So she frantically is like pushing everything aside, trying to clean the house.
She does the parasite move.
Yeah, the parasite move. She's like cleaning everything, putting things in the sink, trying to like get everything to looking just okay enough for someone to come look at the house. And she finally kind of gives in to Oliver. She says, okay, all right, I'll let you in the shed. And this is what Oliver's been trying to get at this whole time is the body, because the demon wants to eat the body. And so she lets Oliver start munching on her daughter's body to get him out of there.
Starts with the eyes, too.
Yeah.
She didn't need him.
Yo.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And so
Wendy and Andy finally show up. But she tells Andy to stay in the car because she doesn't want her to get all upset. But this is what I love about this movie is it does that thing where it's like you're trying to convince someone that shit's going wrong, and you're hoping that this other person will like also be convinced that okay, yeah, you're right. And in a lot of movies, they don't do that. It's like they're trying to convince this person, and the person's like, "Nah, you're crazy." No, and they have no support from the outside. But here, Wendy is actually like seeing like that Laura's like actually kind of going crazy, and she's like understanding what the situation is happening. And then they see Andy kind of shows her Oliver.
While she's inside, he finds Oliver in the shed, and he kind of like reveals that to Wendy, and she freaks out. She's like, "What the fuck?" And I love the scene right at this part when Laura is holding onto Wendy's arm and really trying to. She notices that Laura's bleeding because Oliver bit her in the arm, and she really tries to plead with Wendy once she knows that the facade is up. She's like, but you don't understand. Like, I didn't think it was going to work, but we can bring her back. It's working. It's working. This ritual is working. And when he's trying super hard to like stay calm, but like, get away from her, right? It's honestly like a pretty sad scene. Like, you see her desperation for it kind of come to the surface finally for the first time in the movie, and she's not trying to pretend it to anyone. She's just like, please, like, let me do this. Just let me do this. And so obviously, they run away, and then this is like one of your favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah, because once in a movie like this, once you see that, like, that other person, like Wendy, figuring out that Andy's not crazy, he's right, you're like, there's no way they're getting out of this. There's no way they're getting there. She's gonna die, like, right now. And that's exactly what happens. She gets hit by the car. Like, they're running out, they're in the parking area, and
she hits a 2-for-1
out of nowhere. Laura just smacks both of them, and it looks amazing. It's such a great mix of, I think, practical and visual effects, and it looks so well, and it's so shocking and funny, and it's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and something about this movie that is so surprising when you watch it, and so brutal and bold, in my opinion, is to kill off Andy, that character.
Yeah,
and
they kill
unceremoniously.
They kill him off, like, right there. She drowns him too.
Yeah, she does, like, if you've ever seen the movie Glass, you know.
She gives him the old David Dunn.
It's very sad. It's like,
yeah.
Fuck, man, you were so close.
The thing is, I wasn't upset about it because I thought the movie was going to utilize his death to some extent. Like, maybe the body would transfer over into his body because he drowns the same way that...
Right, you were hoping for maybe some kind of karmic justice for Laura where the ritual just goes not to plan at all.
Yeah.
You know, he does drown the same way her daughter did. But to me, and this is like a super reach on a personal note, so because of other movies like this that I've watched, I love when movies use water as like a theme thing. In this movie, obviously, I mean, there's a lot of rain, showers, drowning. In a way, water kind of represents death in this movie.
Yeah.
But also in another movie that I really like called Beau is Afraid, in my opinion, water represents, in a way, a mother's kind of love that can be suffocating. It's like something that you need and is healthy for you, but then too much of it, you drown. Yeah. And you suffocate in your own kind of comfort zone that's been designed for you. And so having that in mind watching this movie made a lot of that stuff work for me. That's not really to credit of this movie.
No. I think that is very much a psychological thing where, you know, you actually hear about these stories where these mothers, like, drown their kids. And I think it's very symbolic on, like, a psychological way because, you know, having kids that can be a very, like, suffocating thing to happen in your life, and it's like you have no control anymore. You don't have your life anymore, and you're just kind of drowning as, like, they kind of take over your own life,
and they kind of they use you to, like, to float themselves.
Yeah. And,
you know, and some parents would rather see, well, I don't want to say that, but it's almost like they don't want their kid to learn how to swim.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so they drown instead.
Yeah. So I think you are on the right page with that.
Right. Yeah, no, that's just something that I kind of went into the movie with already, having that in mind from other films and just my own experiences, and that's your own experiences are always going to somewhat inform how you take in whatever movie you're watching.
And that's why you love this movie, because it relates to you in certain ways so much.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm eating good. There's just so many of them. There's just so many of these. Moms are fucking crazy.
At least in horror movies.
I know, that's why I love horror.
But we kill off Andy. It's pretty shocking and, like, kind of depressing. It's like, oh man, now Piper's alone in this situation. And, obviously Laura tries to convince Piper that everything's okay, even though...
But Piper finds Andy's body and feels, like, his braces and knows that it's him. And she, at that point, really does start to question Laura. What color is all over his hair? Oh, it's red and curly? Well, I just felt him. He's bald. Mm-hmm. You know? There's this great shot that juxtaposes an earlier shot in the movie of Piper kind of feeling the wall, and the focus is on her hand feeling the wall, and everything else that she's seeing is blurry. It happens when she gets to the house, and it also happens when she sees Oliver in this one moment when she finally notices that he doesn't have the hair that she was told he has.
Yeah.
It's like such a great use of visuals and focus, I think, because the focus being on her hand feeling the wall, it almost feels like you are feeling that wall with her. That's the thing that you can kind of feel, and you can't feel anything else. And it's like isolating your focus to the texture of that wall. It kind of uses your sight, something that Piper doesn't have.
Yeah.
And it gives you that same sensation through that of just watching the film. You're like, you have that sensation of like, this wall is so familiar. Everything else is a complete mystery.
Yeah.
I really liked it. Laura has to kind of reveal her hand here. She kind of has a similar interaction that she had with Wendy, but in a much more trying to be convincing kind of way. She says, like, I didn't want to scare you. I didn't want to tell you this before, but I found an angel. It does wonderful things. You're going to love it. And it's freaking Piper out. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
Another thing is that she gave Piper one of her daughter's sweaters. She said, you can call me mom if you want. And Piper was, like, uncomfortable with that at the moment.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you going to do to me? And she's like, I'm going to drown you in the pool now, love. Oh, man. I need to cut that out.
But, yeah, she obviously she tries to drown Piper, and she's having a hard time. They're both having a hard time because Laura, as awful as a person as she is, she still kind of sees her own daughter in Piper. She can't let it happen again, which is kind of like a good character growth moment.
Yeah, she's the first. Well, I'll just say this: Laura's not a good person.
Yeah.
But it is the first non-selfish act that she does in the movie.
Yeah.
She is drowning her, and she's like, "It's okay, like trying to convince herself that she can do it. And then Piper cleverly kind of gets out of the water and screams "Mom," and that kind of gives her a sobering moment of clarity where she can't go through with it.
Yeah.
And she lets her go. But, she kind of tries to grab onto the sweater, and the sweater falls off, so she has her daughter's sweater with her, and it's, like, really emotional, and you got Oliver just standing at the edge like, when's dinner time, bro? Like, what the fuck?
The demon's just like, okay.
He's standing at the pool watching. He's like, I don't know, what is this? Yeah, and then Oliver, he tries to chase Piper out of the house. Because Piper, she makes her way to the shed. He kind of attacks her there. She kicks him in the stomach, which I actually think does help him get free of the demon, because his stomach has gotten bigger.
Yeah, because he's been eating everything.
Right.
Like, literally anything that could be eaten,
right.
he's eating.
And I think, does he throw up? I think he throws up at a point. I don't really remember, but something about, like, it kicks him in the stomach, and it awakens something. Like, something happens. And
like, he's completely devolving into a demon, because, like, even his head, like, it looks like horns are about to burst out of his head, and he's all scratched up and red and bleeding. He's basically just becoming a demon in real time. But I think Connor just kind of, like, is trying to come out of that demon, and he does, like, demon suicide by walking outside of the circle.
Right. He chases her to the outside of the circle. He walks outside. He lays there. Piper finds a random car, hitches a ride, and you see him kind of, like, he's in pain for a minute, but then he kind of comes back, and he is seen by police who are coming to Laura's house, and they're like, who are you? And he says, my name's Connor Bird. So he's back. He just looks crazy.
Yeah, the demon's out of him, but he's still got those demons in him.
And, the teeth. He's got a different kind of demon in him now. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time and some rehabilitation for sure. But you get this beautiful final moment, but for all three of these characters, because what I like about him stepping out of the circle is that when I first saw the movie, when he was stepped out of the circle the first time, I was like, oh, that's bad. It hurts the demon to do that. But then when he stepped out of the circle the second time, I realized, oh, okay, so, that's the pain you have to go through to exit that comfort zone. It is a painful experience, but then you become, you see more of your true self after you've gone through that.
Yeah.
And that is something I think Laura did not want to accept in her life, is that she couldn't leave that zone. She couldn't accept the new form of that her life had taken. She wanted it so badly to go back.
Almost metaphorically, she doesn't want the demon to leave her body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Does she die at the end, Laura?
I believe so.
She
definitely tries to.
Yeah, she's kind of bleeding out from the bite, and she's in the pool. It's a really cool shot because the pool has a circle in it. Again, circles, a lot of circle
The
motifs
pool
in
is
there.
also, it's a triangle.
Yeah.
It's a triangular pool. Which
Yeah,
is very
but there's
interesting.
a circle inside, and she's in the center of the circle, which means she
Yeah.
never left that. She never left the circle,
Right.
but the demon did.
Like, she never left that moment with
Yeah.
her daughter, that when she found her. And
in a way, she died the same day that her daughter died.
exactly. And she couldn't bring her back. Exactly.
No.
She takes her daughter's body and she just lays there with it, and it's like this great, like, bird's eye shot, and all the police are kind of closing in on her, and she's just made peace with it, you know?
And I guess Piper kind of makes peace with the fact that Andy's gone, because earlier on in the movie, when their father dies, they hear an airplane overhead, and Andy's like, "Dad's not. He's just in a plane."
That's how he goes to heaven.
Yeah.
You go to heaven through a plane. That's what he tells her.
And at the very end of the movie, Piper hears a plane overhead, and it kind of reminds her of Andy, and that Andy's on a plane to heaven too.
And that's plays into, I think, the thing you say about belief in this film.
Yeah.
Is that the belief that Andy gave her, which was in a way naive and, something that he made up to make her feel better, is comforting to her at the end when she doesn't have him anymore. It's like, those are things that you can kind of still latch onto to help you get through your pain.
Yeah.
And so it's a really layered movie. It has, I think, a lot of empathy in for its characters, and really great performances and some gnarly scares. I think it's a quality film that you should all see.
Yeah, it's really good. I said earlier that I wasn't a fan of the ending because, for me, like after the ending, you're really just left with Piper. Just, she has no one anymore. She's left alone, and then there's Connor Bird, he's gonna have to go through a lot of stuff after that. But it almost just it's still a dark ending. It's like,
it's bleak. I think it's more like these characters are now gonna have to go through their own pain and processes, and they're gonna have to somehow do it better than Laura could.
Yeah, and I don't mind dark endings. I don't mind bleak endings. I felt like there could have been another way for me to feel more satisfied with it. It's on its own, and if you really look into it, it is a satisfying ending. But I don't know. For me personally, I felt like there could have been something more that could have really made me be like, yeah, that's a really cool way to end the movie.
I love the ending of this film,
Yeah.
but it's a movie that I think, if you think about what happens after the credits roll or before the movie starts, like, it's very much its own isolated story, and it's got so much merit and so much intention behind it, and so many great messages to it, that I think it does work. But it is a film that, if you're someone who kind of trails off into thought and kind of thinks about what's going to happen after the movie, or what were the characters like before the movie started, you might start asking yourself a lot of questions, and it might be frustrating for how little answers you might get from the movie itself.
That's kind of like a double-edged sword. It's like a good thing and a bad thing. It's because the movie's very ambiguous in those aspects, which can leave you with a lot of questions, but it's also not like a Marvel movie where it's like you got to get into the details of like everything that's going on, and you got to like figure it out. It's like you really have to look into it. It really takes itself as a piece of art that you have to kind of read into and really dig in and find the goodies in there. To a lot of people, that might not be.
It's also a fun movie.
It's
watch.
Fun, yeah.
If you like horror films, it's highly recommended.
Yeah, and we wanted to talk about similar movies like this.
So, yeah, as we said at the beginning of the show, there is a lot of oversaturation in terms of grief-driven horror films that I think a lot of people have those opinions that it's too much and that they should stop making movies like this about grief. I kind of understand that. I do
I don't
tend
think
to give movies like this credit where I'm like, well, but it's different this time. It's more specific this time. But I think a lot of people are like, we need to shake it up, you know?
Yeah, and I agree with that. But the thing is, that you're never gonna get rid of the horror movie about grief because that's such a prominent feeling.
It's a very powerful, horrific, and universal emotion that
Yeah.
is so easy to play with in so many different ways
Yeah.
in movies. I feel like as long as the scares hold up and as long as the movie is entertaining and the characters are layered and empathetic, like in this film, I think I'm down for it all the time. But I do understand the kind of exhaustion from that.
For me, I think movies like this aren't scary to me because grief is more of a it's a sad emotion. It's a depressing emotion, and it just makes me feel more down than I do feel scared. Whereas in other movies, other horror movies in which they're more focused on something like, I don't know, like addiction or something, that's more scary to me because I feel like people could really fall into like things like that, or if they're focusing on a specific fear, like a specific fear of, I don't
Spiders.
know. Spider. No, I don't. Spiders are scary,
Spiders
but
are fucking
like,
scary.
but I don't know. I just feel like there's not as much of a variety with this caliber of horror film. They always really want to go with that psychological, depressing feeling of grief,
Right.
and really expand off of that.
Yeah, I get you. And I mean, I'll take any kind of horror movie that's, like I said, as long as it's scary and fun.
Yeah. No, I'll
Yeah.
watch them all. I don't really like. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that movie's about grief again. Oh, I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot, and there are other movies out there like it that we want to talk about.
So we're gonna take turns here. Bring Her Back or The Babadook.
I think Bring Her Back only because I just saw it and I haven't seen the Babadook in like probably over a decade. When did that movie come out?
2014. Like just over a decade
Yeah,
ago.
so I haven't seen that since then. And I know a lot of people really loved it when it came out.
I
but
love that movie.
I know, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. I get it. I see it's good. I don't think it's a bad movie at all.
So
I just wasn't a fan of it.
given the personal context that I've given to this film, Bring Her Back, I don't even have to elaborate. You
Yeah.
could understand why I would love The Babadook
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these other films that we're going to talk about too.
Yeah.
So I'm going The Babadook. Obviously,
Yeah.
I think it's just a little more tried and true. It's definitely at this point I would consider it like a pretty significant horror movie for me. It's one of my favorite movies. Period. It's on my favorite movies list, and I also got to see it. A really, really cool memory I have of The Babadook is I got to see it in a theater with the director, Jennifer Kent, and also Mike Flanagan, who's one of my favorite filmmakers, and they did like a live commentary, and that was amazing. Like, it really just made me appreciate that movie a lot more. So maybe over time,
I'll just have to revisit it.
I'll see this movie more, and we'll revisit that. But yeah, The Babadook clears in my opinion.
I had more fun with this movie than I did with that one.
Yeah.
At least from what I remember. All right, how about Bring Her Back or Hereditary?
Hereditary clears, demolishes.
Hereditary clears, demolishes, eats it, and shits it out.
Yeah, I'm not to be
that's
rude.
bad. That's
not
mean. That's
not
mean.
to be rude.
But Hereditary honestly changed. I won't say it changed my life, but that movie is such a big part of.
I think it did change my life because it came out like I was getting into movies. I was into movies when it came out, but like not. It was still like I was gaining momentum in that regard, and Hereditary came out at a perfect time. It is the only movie I can remember from that day since it came out that like genuinely, really, really. Well, I don't want to maybe say that, but it really, really scared me. I think more than any movie that's come out since. It like has genuine fear in it and so much shock and surprise, and like the first time watching Hereditary is just one of the best theater experiences I've ever had.
So my thing with Hereditary when I first saw it, if I'm right, I'm pretty sure I saw that movie 3 times in a singular day when I first saw it. I saw it like the first time with my roommate at the time. Then we saw it again with him and his father, and then I saw it a third time the same day at like past midnight at an employee screening because I was working at a theater, and I wanted to watch that movie over and over and over again and see people's reactions to it and like really delve into it.
Yeah, I'll
And
watch that movie anytime, any day. Like,
yeah, I
if
remember
it's
it
on.
was so fun watching it at the employee screening because people literally left. Like they were so like 2 or 3 guys left because they were so scared. They're like, I'm not doing this. I'm walking out. And I've never really seen that before in terms of like something being so scary that someone would leave the theater.
Yeah,
But it's so good. And honestly, it's not even like that I'm like terrified of the movie. It's not honestly horror movies don't really scare me. Like there's rarely ever a horror movie where I'm like that was like terrifying to me. But that like from just a filmmaking point of view and the way he's telling the story, the acting, just everything across the board with that movie just blows most horror movies out of the way.
I agree. It's incredible. Sincerely, I think it's a perfect movie. I saw it with my uncle, who I actually mentioned last week on the Mission Impossible episode as well. I saw it with him, and I think it is his favorite movie still.
Yeah.
Like, he considers it one of his favorite movies at the very, very top of his list. And he literally had his mouth covered for like 5 minutes after the famous car scene happened. Like, just, he could not believe what had occurred on the screen.
It's
Incredible.
and
Incredible movie.
and it's very similar to this movie. It's like, trying to get someone's
Yeah, there's a
soul into
ritualistic
another
aspect
body.
to both of these films.
And it's, mother grieving over their dead child. It's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I think this film definitely owes some flowers to Hereditary
Yeah.
as well. What about Bring Her Back or Don't Look Now? The classic movie with Donald Sutherland, rest in peace.
That movie is amazing, and the thing is, they're both very different. It's kind of hard. I would say Don't Look Now because it just had that time to grow and like be as great as it is, and it's a much more artful film. It's also a much more subtle film than Bring It
Yeah, the
Back.
tones are very different. The styles are very different.
I would
I would agree, I think.
again, not to say that Bring Her Back's not good. It's just they're very different, but Don't Look Now really it stood the test of time. What about Midsummer?
So, that's hard. So, Midsummer is one that's grown on me a lot over the years and that I really come to like a lot. But I might have to right now. I don't know. I might have to say Bring Her Back. I know that's kind of crazy,
Mm-hmm.
but Midsummer was never one that stood out to me at first. So I think over time I'd probably change my answer. But right now I'm leaning more on Bring Her Back just because it has that personal angle to it.
Yeah, I figured
Yeah.
you would relate more to Bring Her Back than but I loved Midsummer. I just like Hereditary. I was so into that movie. I wanted to watch that movie all the time and see other people's reactions to it. And I just love Ari Aster, what he does with film
Me too.
and how
I'm
he's
super looking forward to his next
changing
movie.
it up and doing something different. Even though we've seen movies like Midsummer before, it stands so much on its own and what it's trying to say and do. Yeah, it's Midsummer for me
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
And then finally, what about, this is from this year too, what about Bring Her Back or The Woman in the Yard, another movie about a grieving mother?
I would say Bring Her Back because I enjoyed how brutal Bring Her Back was, as well as how sometimes it kind of went into comedic aspects because of how weird and strange the movie is. Where Woman in the Yard almost feels like it doesn't feel like it just is a big metaphor for grieving parent who lost their husband.
It's less possible to separate that movie from its like subtext than
Yeah.
it is this one, which you should never really do, but it is more like I guess there's just less window dressing on that movie. It is a very stylish film.
Yeah, no, The Woman in the Yard, very good movie. I liked it. I thought it was really good. Again, you had more of a personal take on it than I did.
Oh, extremely. I actually don't know for this one because this they're similar enough, but they're so different in
Yeah.
terms of the specificity of the grief that they're hitting at
Yeah.
and because I think they're both about grief, but they're the two women in both of these films deal with grief so differently, and they're fighting different demons, literally.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's hard for me to choose one or the other because I see more of myself in the characters of Andy and Piper and Bring Her Back, and I kind of there is that connection there, but and The Woman in the Yard is, I mean, damn near, like it hits so close. I actually can't even explain it. It would be so inappropriate to explain it, but it's so close. I'm gonna say Bring Her Back for now, just because I think I do enjoy the style. There's a better injection of like different sensibilities, like humor and dark humor and gore, practical effects. I think there's just a little more going on in terms of the different flavors of this movie.
Yeah.
Whereas The Woman in the Yard is way more straightforward, and it's very short. It's like 80 minutes. It plays in the same kind of sandbox the whole time.
It feels like almost like it's based off of like a short horror like novelette or something.
Right. It almost feels like it could be based on like a short story. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I loved both of those films a lot. Two of my favorite movies of the year so far. I have this one higher on my list.
Yeah.
I can't, the list doesn't lie. Also, I would like to mention comparing and ranking movies, completely personal endeavor. It's pointless. It's not really a way of saying one movie's better than the other because all movies are different. They're like living things. They're completely different goals, intentions. It's stupid to do that. We're just doing it for fun.
It's more, it's just more of a personal opinion. It also gives people a bit of an insight as to how they may feel about the movie if they haven't seen it, based on other people's reactions to it. So, I think ranking movies are good in that sense, but it's just so stupid to like rank movies that have nothing to do with each other and like don't.
It is the reason that we're doing this here is just to say, give a little bit of shout outs to some of the movies that are similar to this, to say, if you like this movie, watch all of these.
Yeah.
Watch all of these movies, including Bring Her Back, including Talk to Me. Like, watch all of these. We haven't mentioned a bad movie on this episode, I don't think.
No.
So watch everything that we talked about.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, and what is your final rating? To be more pointless, what is your final rating on Bring Her Back?
Bring Her Back, it's a great movie. I liked it a lot. I could see myself like rewatching it with like people who haven't seen it before a lot, because it has a lot of great shocking moments, as we've talked about, and it's a really well paced movie. It feels like it didn't like stay too long or like it closed too fast. Shoot, I give it 4 apples out of 5.
That's wow. Maybe we should start doing that.
Yeah,
I would give it 4.5. I liked it a little more than you, but I think we both agree that this is a great film. Some minor shortcomings, but it's just a great movie. It takes a stab at the whole grief thing, but it really, I think, ultimately, like I said, is about innocence, and I think it has just so much that it plays with in terms of the different ways that we interact with and experience that in our lives. So,
yeah, and
great film.
Just a quick mention: it looks great, cinematography's great, acting's all great. I think every aspect of the movie's like fairly good. I think for me, really, it was just like a little bit of the ending. I get the ending, but I just kind of wanted a little bit more. And there were a few moments where it wasn't necessarily the pacing, but like the way they would like
the avenues in which they take to make the story happen.
Yeah,
felt at times a little bit
like
forced,
jumpy. Yeah,
a little bit kind of quick and easy. Yeah.
Other than that, it's all gravy.
Yeah. thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Let us know what you think of all these films that we covered and mentioned in the comments. Let us know if you saw Bring Her Back, what you thought of it. And let us know if you're looking forward to the next film from these two directors, the Talk to Me sequel.
Yeah,
let us know your thoughts on
to
that.
Me.
Talk to Me. I don't know how I feel about that title, but yeah, this has been a fun one. I've been Peyton.
And I've been Adrian.
And we'll see you next time on the Apple Box.
Bye.